Welcome to my complete Wardloop build guide. I will start with a brief explanation how build works. After that we will go into details and later I will show you how to craft gear and show you some useful tools that you can use. After that I will explain what you can do if your build don't work and how you can improve your build. And I will end this video with a leveling guide and a gear progression. In Wardloop build we don't cast our spells manually, we use a trigger. In this case a trigger is cast when damage taken support gem, and when we socket it with our main skill, in this case fireball, as you can see we cannot use this skill, we need to trigger it, and for a trigger we use summon skeletons in combination with hardbound loop ring. And when we summon skeletons and after 20 seconds they will expire and we will take damage from our hardbound loop ring and we will trigger our main skill, in this case fireball, as you can see in a few seconds. As you can see, we trigger our main skill after summon skeletons expire, and this is how Wardloop build works. To make our Wardloop build loops, we don't want to summon skeletons manually, we want them to summon automatically, I mean on a trigger. So we socket our summon skeletons with another cast when damage taken support. As you can see now we cannot use neither of those two skills and we need to trigger them somehow. We can use Forbidden Rite. As you can see, when I use Forbidden Rite I take damage, I proc Fireball and I proc Summon Skeletons. So we need to wait 20 seconds and after they expire they will proc Fireball and they will proc Summon Skeletons again, and this is one way how we can start a loop. As you can see, we summon Skeleton again and we trigger our main skill. But what we can do is we can take Essence of Insanity. As you can see on a weapon, trigger level 20 Spectral Spirits when equipped. So we use it on a weapon and swap it in a, as you can see here, in a second weapon slot. So when we equip this weapon, as you can see here, we have 3 spirits. And I will wait the skeletons to expire just for demonstration. And when I weapon swap here, as you can see, those spirits died and we summon skeletons again and we proc our main skill. So by just weapon swap, it is X on a keyboard, we can start our loop. So we don't need this Forbidden Rite gem. As you can see, our loop is working, but it is inefficient because minions last 20 seconds and the cooldown time of cast when damage taken is 0.25 seconds. So to get the maximum damage out of this build we need to reduce skeleton duration to match this 0.25 seconds of cast when damage taken cooldown time. We can achieve this with anomalous minion speed. As you can see, reduce minion duration by 40%. Also we need 2 dust cobalt jewels in combination of 33% reduced skeleton duration. We need less duration with 4 quality. And we need this here window of opportunity wheel, and all of these things combined will reduce our summon skeleton duration to 0.25 seconds. So you guys don't have to remember how much reduced and less duration on your summon skeletons you need, I made this document, a Wardloop build guide, and here in a section breakpoints you can see to achieve, so let's explain this first. So when we trigger our cast when damage taken, it starts the cooldown, and in a PoE cooldown is measured in server ticks, and server ticks in a period of 0.033 seconds. So when we trigger, cooldown starts and counts in this period. So here is default breakpoint of 0.25 seconds and needed to be rounded up to the server tick, because when server ticks, this is when action is performed. So it's rounded up to 0.264 seconds, because that's the nearest point. It's closer to this way, to this side, rather to this side. So to achieve the breakpoint of 0.264 seconds, we need here, I explained everything what you need. So this is default cooldown time of cast when damage taken support gem. By increasing cooldown recovery rate on your gear, you can achieve the next breakpoint. So to achieve the next breakpoint, you need at least 9 cooldown recovery rate, increased cooldown recovery rate on your gear, and that is 0.231 seconds. To achieve this, here I explain everything what you need. So by increasing cooldown recovery rate, you get more triggers in a second. As you can see here, we have almost 4 triggers, and here we have 5 triggers in a second. So this is breakpoints on your cast and damage taken gem, and also how much you need to reduce the skeleton's duration to match that breakpoint. With this many casts per second, as you can see, we run out of mana really fast. So to fix this problem, we need to take this Battle Rose wheel here, also with mastery, and to fix the problem of taking too many damage, also because of too many casts per second, we need to recoup some of that damage as life. So we can take this wheel here. But as you can see, when I do a weapon swap, we almost instantly run out of life, and because I'm in a hideout I didn't die, but in a map you will die instantly. And to fix this problem, we need a ward. So ward is a shield, and that lasts for 1 hit, and when we take this hit, ward breaks, and we need to wait 5 seconds for this ward to recover. Ward we can have on gloves, boots, and helm. So by socketing ward gear, as you can see, we get this shield 1400 ward. So when I do a weapon swap, as you can see, ward is instantly gone. So we need this flask, all rot resolve. As you can see, effect is ward does not break during effect, and we get 70% less ward. So when I activate this flask, as you can see, lower our ward, but it doesn't break. As you can see, we don't lose health. But the problem here, as you can see, when this flask effect ends, we start taking damage and die almost instantly. So we need to have this flask effect uptime all the time. For us to have this flask active infinitely, this is where our ascendancy comes into play. One of the reasons we choose Scion is because this ascendancy pathfinder, as you can see down there, flask gain 3 charges every 3 seconds. But this is not enough to sustain this flask infinitely, I mean all the time. So we need this timeless jewel brutal restrained with Balbala. So what it does, it transforms one big keystone into a traitor. As you can see, gain 4 flask charges per empty flask slots every 5 seconds. So here we have 4 empty slots, and also we can have this reduce flask charge used on our belt and also increase flask effect duration. This will help a lot with sustaining our Allrat Resolve flask. Also we can have this medium cluster with increased flask effect duration and increased flask charge gains. This will also help to sustain our Allrat Resolve flask, and also we can have something like this on a jewel, increased flask effect duration. So combining all these things, our medium cluster, keystone, the traitor and mods on our belt, we are able infinitely to sustain this Allrat Resolve flasks. And the best way to check is this flask active all the time is in a path of building program. That I will show you that later, but you can also check by activating this flask and looking at it. So to have this mode reuse at the end of flask effect, we need to roll with this we need to roll with this installing orb, and what it does, it changes the modes, this implicit on our flask, so we don't have to press this flask all the time, so it's reused automatically at the end of flask effect. Looks like our flask is active all the time, and when we do a weapon swap, as you can see, our loop is working. So what we want to do next is to increase the gem level of this fireball to be the maximum level 21. So when we replace gems, as you can see, it's not supported by low level casting damage taken, so we need to match the level of our casting damage taken with level of our fireball. As you can see, our summon skeletons proc few times until our fireball proc once, and this is because we do not take enough damage to proc this fireball as much as our summon skeletons, so we need to increase the damage we do to ourselves. There is a few ways you can achieve this 3580 damage, and I will show you the way I do it, and I think it's the easiest way. So we need 2 hardbound loop ring with noxious catalyst that increase this physical damage taken on minion death to 420. Also we need a level 11 summon skeletons. As you can see, on level 1 we summon 2, and when we reach level 11 we summon 3 skeletons. To have this summon skeleton supported by casting damage taken, we need at least level 5 casting damage taken. So to combine this damage, 2 rings times 3 skeletons and minus, so we miss 1060 damage, and we can get this damage with this gem Forbidden Rite. As you can see, it takes 40% of our maximum life as chaos damage. So for this Forbidden Rite gem to do ourselves 1060 damage, we need at least 1657 life. And how did I get this number? So it takes 40% of our life, so times 0.4. As you can see, it's 663 damage, and we have minus 60% chaos resistance, so this time 1.6. As you can see, it's 1060 damage. So I need 1657 life, so I will take few life nodes. And as you can see, I have enough life, and I should be able, and yes, as you can see, we are able to proc our fireball as much as our summon skeletons. But as you can see, the problem is we lose life, so we don't have enough ward. So we need to increase this ward so we do not take damage from this forbidden right gem. So ward is global defense, and we can increase it with this skin of the lords or skin of the loyal, because it increase 100% global defense. As you can see, just by socketing it, I have 962 ward, and also we have this staff mastery here that give us 30% increased defense while wielding a staff. So as you can see, when I socket a staff, I have 1106 ward, so this will be enough for me not to die, because Forbidden Right is doing 1060 damage. So the minimum amount of ward you want to have is 1060 because of the Forbidden Right gem. One thing to keep in mind is when you use Skin of the Lords or Skin of the Loyal, it increases the gem level, the socketed gem levels. So our level 21 casting damage taken becomes level 23, and as you can see, increases the damage we need to take to proc it. So this is bad, and you want to socket lower level. And when you socket it to become the level 21, as you can see, we have level 19 plus 2 is level 21. So you want to keep that in mind. And yeah, I think this is everything, like every basic thing you need to know about Wardloop. As you can see, our build is working. We have our main skill proccing as much as our summon skeletons are. We don't take damage from our Forbidden Right gem because we have enough ward. I also covered the flask, what you need to sustain your flask, and like basic things about breakpoints of cooldown recovery rate on your casting damage taken, and also what you need to get to reduce the skeleton duration to match those breakpoints. And yes, after this I will put together my build and show you some details about it. And after that I will show you how you can craft your gear and the tools you want to use to make your build work perfectly. And after that, the leveling guide and the gear progression of leveling guide. And I think this is like everything about the Wardloop. The first thing you want to learn how to use is Path of Building. I will include the download link in the video description. And when you first time open it, you will get something like this. So here on the left corner you want to go import export, and here select the console of the PC you are using and type your account name. and press start, and here select the league, crucible, and select your character and load the passive tree and jewels and items and skills. So here we have our build. As you can see here in skills, our main skill is fireball. So the first thing you want to do is go here in calculation and select your summon skeletons. And what you want to check is your skill cooldown and skill duration. Those two needs to be matched, because as you can see here, when we cast a spell, our cost and damage taken is finished, the cooldown, and we need to wait a few fraction of a second until our skeletons expire. So we lose 1 cast per second here, so we need to reduce duration of our skeletons to match this, because I have here, as you can see, increased cooldown recovery rate on my belt, abyssal jewel, and boots. So I lowered the skill cooldown, but I didn't lower the skill duration. And if you check here in the written guide, what we need is minion speed, that we have 2 dusk of 34, window of opportunity, and 10% less skill effect duration mastery. So here I have 15 and I want to replace with 14. And what I want is this mastery, a less skill effect duration, and I want to take off this less duration, because here is no less duration. So let's see, is working. As you can see, we are casting more fireballs per second. So to get this into a path of building, you want to change a region with your character, then go to your hideout and import again. And it should be changed. As you can see, skill duration and skill cooldown are the same number, so they are matched, and we have 5 casts per second. And also what you want to check is your all-rot resolve flask uptime. So here when you have your item, you want to hover a mouse over it and hold Control and press C to copy that item, and here in a path of building, Control V to add this item to a build. And as you can see, when we add a flask, here we have flask uptime 100%, and when we add a flask, we have average 100% and 80% minimum. So when we, let's say, add another flask, as you can see, we don't have this 100% flask uptime. So we need to invest more into jewels like this. So this is the 2 things you want to check with your Wardloop build. Do you have this flask uptime? And in calculation, when you select summon skeleton, do you have skill cooldown and skill duration matched? I put my build together, and the first thing I want to talk about is summon skeletons. When you enter a map, even though your skeletons are lasting for 0.25 seconds, something can hit them and kill them and mess up with your loop. So we don't want that to happen, and we can fix that with a node on a medium cluster drew something like this, blessed rebirth, and what it does, as you can see, minions created recently cannot be damaged. So this is one way to fixing the problem, and the other way is with anomalous summon skeletons. As you can see, additional effect from quality is minions cannot be damaged for 0 to 2 seconds. And because our here is anomalous, and because our summon skeletons last for 0.264 seconds, we need at least 3 quality on the summon skeletons. And this is the easiest way to fix this problem. So we need at least 3 quality on this gem. Before jumping to my build, I want to show you how to use this PoE trade site for your advantage. Here, and also this PoE database. So the first thing you want to see, let's say you want to buy a new boots. So what boots do you buy for your Wardloop build? So here in PoE database, just type Ward and it will search everything related to Ward. So here click on Ward items, and as you can see there is 3 types of Ward boots. So we want boots with maximum Ward. So this is the one, runic sabatons. So let's click on them and click here on modifiers. And as you can see there is increased Ward mode that is have a defense tag, and it's have a level of 84. As you can see, the tier 1 role requires level 84. So we type here runic sabatons, and we want to level to be minimum at 84. And here we want non-unique to be. And there is this base percentile. As you can see, this one have 47, 47, and this is really important because as you can see here, when we go on a Rurik Sabaton, there is a roll on a Ward and there is 15 difference. So this makes a really big difference in a Ward. Let's say you have minus 15 on your boots, minus 15 on your helm, and that's really adds on, and you have really low Ward and you have really good gear. So because you don't have this base percentile really high, so you want to type here base percentile at least 95%. So as you can see, these one are 50 chaos and the next one are 3 chaos because it have really low roll. So the next thing, because skin of the lords give you a random keystone. As you can see, this one gives me ghost river. So what this keystone does, sometimes you can have the bad one, let's say something like this one. Where is it? Something like this one. As you can see, you cannot deal damage with skills yourself, and this totally breaks our build, so we don't do any damage. So what you want to learn how to use is this stat group. So you don't want this astral ancestral bone, so you don't want this. And with this better trading, you can register your, you can add on, this is an add-on, and you can save your search. So let's say we search skin of the lords and we want 1 green, 3 blue, 2 red, and we don't want ancestral bone. So yeah, it has to be unique. So let's say And we have this blood magic, so we don't want this blood magic. And as you can see, there is a lot of mods that you don't want, and every time you want to check price, you don't want to type all this manually. So what you can do with this better trading is you can register current trades. So let's say whatever guide, as you can see, and when I save this, it will be here in the loop, and when I click it, it will save the mods. It will save the search link that I want, and here I have Skin of the Lords. As you can see, I already prepared all the colors and the mods that I don't want, so I don't have to type all this every time I want to search. So I just click on here, and that's it. So this is really good tool to have, and this is really good website to know how to use, because it gives you the list of the modifiers. Let's say an amulet, as you can see, it gives you the required level and the mods you can get on a prefix and a suffix. Okay, let's jump into my build. For helm, here we have physical damage taken recouped as life, so we don't have to take these nodes here. Saves a lot of points, and with this mode we can sustain the righteous fire. Damage planetary call resistance, bard resistance, and ice spear fires additional projectile. Here with freezing pulse, as you can see, projectile spread, and with ice spear here, as you can see, it's shotguns. All projectiles hit the same target, so the more projectiles and ice spear, more damage. For Pandemonious, nothing special. Counterweight, crit chance, crit multi. For staff, annihilation, light, nothing special. Crit chance, crit multi. Rings, nothing special. For Skin of the Lords, also nothing special. For gloves, we want cold exposure and unnerve. As you can see, unnerve here gives us 10%, enemies take 10% increased spell damage. For boots and for belt, we want to have combined 27 cooldown recovery rate. So I have 19 here, 7 here, 26 and 2, 28. Also on the boots, I have this brittle ground, as you can see, plus 2% crit chance, and this thing on the ground is brittle ground, so when you hit a big enemy you just want to move back and forth, so they are on a brittle ground. For gloves, helm and boots, you can craft them with dense fossils, or you can roll here with primal crystallized life force, reforge defense until you hit the mods you want. This is the cheapest way. This is how I craft all my gear. And for a belt, I will show you how to craft the belt. It's around 15 divines, it's not expensive, but yes, I will show you how to craft. For gems, nothing special. Here, Awakening Greatle, because it gives you additional projectile. You want to scale on your ice spear gem levels. Here, basic stuff. Phase run, nothing special. Yes, I run Grace. And here I have Divergent Righteous Fire, because quality gives you increased spell damage. Also Sniper's Mark with Enhance. For single target we use Ice Spear. For clear we use Creeping Frost and Freezing Pulse. Also here I have Power Charge support on Critical Strike, because we want to generate Power Charge power charges, and here on Mark Mastery we generate frenzy charge. Frenzy charge increase our damage a lot and also help us sustain phase run. So for the rest of the passive tree, nothing special. Here I path to the spell suppression, so I have 100% chance to suppress spells. Watcher's Eye helped me with this, with spell suppression while affected by grace. Also this Mage Band Keystone. To support for flask, I took some of the flask nodes on a tree. What you don't want is flask effect, because on all rot resolve flask effect is, as you can see, less ward, so we don't want less ward, more flask effect. We want flask effect duration, flask charge gains, reduce flask charge use, and yeah, that's it. For the rest of the tree, nothing special. Create while wielding a staff, create eye to eye, repeater, nothing special really. Here I have Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flash, that gives me a dead eye. It is really good because gives you a sniper mark effect, also give you additional projectile on the ice spear. And yes, here I have impossible escape to take those two nodes because I run grace, and here patting on a spell suppression, this helps me increase my damage for a few nodes. And yeah, that's my build, so nothing special. Here I use determination, Kiara's determination, to be immune to chill freeze, curse, and to cap my resistance I use bismuth flask. And yeah, that's for my build. I forgot to mention that I have lightning damage to spells on my abyssal jewel. That helps with this. First small shocks from your hits always increase damage taken by at least 10%. So with lightning damage on spells, we shock enemies and they take 10% more damage. And one thing I forgot to say is that here on my brutal restraint I have increased flask charge gains, as you can see here on 2 modes. And what you can do is just in Google type timeless jewel calculator and you will open this website and go to skill tree view, and now you select the socket and you deselect the modes that you don't have. So what I have is this one, this one, this one, yeah, and I don't have this one. So what you want is go here, brutal restraint, Balbala, select stats. So we want flash charge gains, minimum 2, and search. And once there is, as you can see, there is one with 3, and just click here trade and it will open the one, but just make sure that this one is not a Senat and that it's Balbala. So here let's check this one. Senat, as you can see, there is no Balbala, so we want one with Balbala. So just make sure, as you can see, 3 divines. So if I copy this one and add to my build, and as you can see, if I put it here, it should give me here flash charge gains, flash charge gains, flash charge gains. So this one is perfect for 3 divines. To craft a belt that looks something like this, first of all you want to check in POB database, modifiers, heal jewelry belts. We want to have Crusader cooldown recovery rate, so we need minimum item level 84. So you get a belt item level 84 or higher and roll with alteration until you get something like this: reduce flash charge used. And what you want to have is another prefix, and you want to wriggle it until you hit something like this: 2 prefix and 1 suffix. So go in a crafting bench and craft any prefix. So now we have 1, 2, 3 prefix and 1 suffix. And what you want to do next is, I don't have, but let's see here in craft of exile, go in emulator and import item. And here you say Alt Control C on an item. So Alt Control C on an item and import here. And what you want to do next is grab Crusader, Exalt Orb and just slam it. As you can see, we got spell damage during flask effect. So that's it, we didn't get it. So we need to craft another belt, same like this one, and do it again with another Crusader, Exalt Orb and slam. As you can see, remove shock. So we want to repeat this on many new belt until we hit it. As you can see here, I hit it from 5th try. So, and after that, just on a suffix here on a crafting bench, just craft increase flask effect duration, and that's it. That's the belt you want. That's the belt I have. So I don't know, the Crusader Exaltor is around 40 chaos and this is 5 chaos, so took me around 1 divine. So as you can see here, we have 2, 5, 7, 8 modes, but this one have really low weight, so you will probably hit it in, let's see, in 1 in 10, let's say. So this belt theoretically will cost you around 400 chaos or 450 chaos to craft. In this section I will show you what you can do if your build is not working. So the first thing you do is turn on your flask and do a weapon swap, and as you can see, our loop stops running, and when we do a weapon swap again, it stops running. So we need to swap a few times for our build to work. And the problem here is, if you check in a defense, here we have armor. I have 400 armor, so here I craft armor on my belt, and if I remove this craft, as you can see, when I do a weapon swap, my loop starts instantly, so I don't have to swap 2 or 3 times. So the problem is armor, so we don't want to have any armor. The next problem can be, let's see here, if I take those nodes here, as you can see, this one gives me chaos resistance, so I have more chaos resistance. And when I do a weapon swap, as you can see, my build is working, but my spells don't cast that often. As you can see, some are casting normally, some are not. And this is the problem, because we trigger our lower cost when damage taken and our higher level cost when damage taken is not proccing that often. But look what will happen when I remove this. As you can see, we are triggering it more often. Just look down there, as you can see. So we want to have the chaos resistance just perfectly tuned so our build is working perfectly. I mean, so we don't take too many damage from our forbidden right, and also we take enough damage to proc our higher level cost when damage taken. So this is one of the problem. And the next thing can be here, as you can see, I have cooldown recovery speed 28%. And if I remove this jewel, I have 26. So when I do a weapon swap, as you can see, my loop starts and stops. This is because my skeletons expire and my custom damage taken is not ready, so I miss the timing and my build is not working properly. So you have more or less duration on skeletons and you need to add cooldown recovery, so that's one of the problems. Also, if you take something like this, malevolence aura, and if I turn on malevolence aura and when I do a weapon swap, as you can see, my build is working, but it's not working good because this malevolence aura gives you increased skill effect duration, so it increases duration of our summon skeletons, as you can see, to 1.98 seconds, so we don't want that. The next thing that can be problem is I don't know. Yes, you don't have enough life, so that can be one of the problems, or you increase the level of custom damage taken that is socket with your summoned skeletons. So let's say if I take a level 21 here and when I do a weapon swap, as you can see, my build is not working. Because I don't have enough damage to proc this higher level custom damage taken that is socketed with my summon skeletons and forbidden right. So those are the few problems, the most common problems that I see people have. And the other problem is, let's see here, if you have this increased flask effect. So when I turn on the flask, as you can see, it lowered my ward and I instantly die. So without this, let's see, I have 1106 ward, and with flask effect it lowers my ward to 787. So you don't want the flask effect. So these are the most common problems that I see on other people's build. For the leveling and the gear progression guide, I made this POB. Here we mule Witch to get Freezing Pulse and Arcane Surge. You don't have to, you can play with Splitting Steel. On level 4 we swap to Stormblast Mine and we use it all the way till we reach the Act 8. This is where we swap to Icicle Mine. As items, all you want to do is craft lightning damage to spells on level 30. When you kill Piety, and this is the tree that you want to have on before swapping to icicle mines. You want this projectile pierce to additional targets, because icicle mine don't pierce and you will not have good clear. Items, when you reach the maps, this is the tree you want to have as items. Here you want to get this bitter dream and heat shearer. This is all you need for the maps. Even to clear the red maps, as you can see, we socket icicle mine in bitter dream, and this give us more links, as you can see, more damage. After you get some currency, you want to swap to before cyclone. This version we use 6-link body armor and annihilation light, and we craft some of our ward gear here, gloves and boots, and also the belt that we use even in our budget version of Wardloop. So we don't change that many items, we just add items, and when you add items you will progress from icicle mine to a Wardloop build. So it's a linear progression, and you just add items and you build a character this way. You don't play one thing and then after you get all the items and skills you swap to a Wardloop. So this is kind of a linear progression that I use on my league start. So before swapping to Cyclone Wardloop, this is the items you want to get, and skill gems, the tree stays the same, so you don't change the tree. You say regrets until we swap to a Cyclone, and for a Cyclone all you need to do is just change few gems and the whole passive tree. So for a Cyclone version here we add flasks, as you can see, and we swap helm for a ward helm, and those items we use even in our budget Wardloop. So the only thing we change is few items. So as I said, it's linear progression. So for our Cyclone Wardloop, what you want to take care is those gem levels. We want level 18 cast and damage taken, and level 19 our main skills. As you can see here, we use Cyclone level 1, Awaken cast while chanting, and summon skeletons level 21. Also another link, we have cast and damage take level 5 and summon skeletons. Other gems are Sniper's Mark, Hatred, Righteous Fire, Frostblink. So nothing complicated there. For our passive tree, you want 2 clusters, one for a flask sustain, one for a damage, and the passive tree is, as you can see, nothing special. When you get some currency to buy your body armor skin of the lords, we use it with 2 green, not 2 red. So this is the cheaper version, that's why it's called a budget Wardloop. And you want to change a tree a little bit. We want to add this window of opportunity, and we want to add here, as you can see, some skeletons are anomalous and also minion speed, so you want to keep that in mind. And everything is pretty self-explanatory. As you can see, we have around 10 million DPS on our Ice Spear on Guardian, so it will be enough for you to get all the void stones and whatnot, to clear all the content, get all the challenges and whatever you want to do. And that's it for the build guide. I hope you like it. See you in the next one, guys. Thank you. Thanks for watching.